In other states, it's 18 years old.
Very few.
Very few.
It's almost 21.
Okay, but
keep in mind, at 18, you can defend the country.
But so let me ask you this. So there are 18-year-olds in high school. So Columbine High School, there were 12 kids shot. So would you be for 18-year-old high school, and that's just where their birthday falls, they're going to be a senior, they're going to be a little older. Would you be for seniors in high school carrying concealed guns?
Why not? They're a citizen. Can they defend the country?
What about on airplanes?
All right. Well, now, wait a minute here.
We're talking about
hold on a second here.
So my point is, when do you draw the line? Like, what?
I will answer that for you, but I want to get John on the line here. John, you're on Night Talk. Hi.
Hi, how are you?
I'm fine.
I believe that the problem is not worrying about who can carry a gun. The problem is that many people don't understand that when these students are so despondent that they consider using a weapon to kill someone, they don't care whether anyone else has a gun.
They don't care whether what?
Whether anyone else is carrying a gun.
Okay, so you're saying that well, so your point then is that they would...
I don't care whether any other students are carrying weapons. It's just that when that person is...
I'll tell you what, I need to take a time out here. We're going to respond to your point, okay, John, in just a few moments, all right? Okay. So stay tuned. Our telephone number is 412-333-PCNC, and we'll be right back. And we're just getting some more reports on Super Tuesday 2. Apparently, the Associated Press is now reporting that the Obama camp lobbied the elections officials in Ohio to keep some of the polling places open longer because in some places they ran out of paper ballots, and there were so many people turned out for the primary in Ohio that they were standing in line, and if the polls closed on time, they weren't going to be able to vote. And there were also the weather problems. There were reports of flooding and so forth. So the vote count in Ohio, for the Democrats anyway, may go on into the night. And at last report, we had the voting in Texas and Ohio, the two biggest states, too close to call on the Democratic side. Now, back to our caller, John. John's just to reiterate, John says he thinks that a lot of these school shooters are so crazy, so delusional, so depressed that they don't care whether anybody else is carrying a gun. They're just going to start shooting other students anyway. I
agree. And if they can't shoot them, they're going to find another means to destroy them. And we talked off the air. And Kim knows the statistics. In 1927, I believe, the worst killing on a school was from the superintendent. He blew up the school with dynamite and took out a bunch of,
Where was this?
This is in 1927 in Michigan, I believe.
Michigan?
Yes. Michigan. So, the bottom line is, I agree with that caller, that if these people are depressed, and we obviously know in both these circumstances there was significant mental issues going on, they're going to do whatever means is necessary. And if they don't do it at school, we know they did it in the mall. We know they could do it in a church.
Yeah, but can I take it? What we're talking about is what they're going to do.
Okay.
The key issue here is that American citizens have rights and freedoms. I trust my fellow citizens. I fought for this country, and I believe that they should be empowered to act at their own discretion if they follow the laws on getting a license and carrying. We don't prejudge them. It's not a matter of prejudice, whether it's skin color, whether it's gun ownership. It's wrong. And that's what these laws are, these restrictions are, and they have led to greater harm and more deaths because the perception of gun-free zones.
Let me ask you this: Do you know what the odds are of a policeman, a street cop in a gun battle? Do you know what the odds are of that cop hitting his target? What's the percentage of a cop hitting that target?
Lucky if it's 7%.
Exactly right. So my concern. I read.
Before you go any further, you should know I'm a civilian associate. I'm certified to train law enforcement.
I know you.
And
So
police.
You know better than anybody.
I'm a firearms training counselor, and I'm going to tell you something. The average law-abiding citizen can shoot better than the average cop.
Well, so okay. Well, okay.
Whoa! I mean, that's. Listen, I know we're going to get some calls now from the police. What are you talking about? The average citizen's a better shot than the average cop?
That's right.
Why is that?
Because they practice more.
Are you serious?
I've had friends of mine that were chief of police that have gone in when they take over a department, have checked the firearms in the rosters, and they pull the floor plate off the magazine, and all the ammunition is corroded together in the semi-automatic magazines. I have seen horrendous things, guys pulling their guns in qualification and shooting 5 rounds right in front of them, missing a target at 7 feet.
But isn't this interesting? You know, and listen, I found, and the reason I asked you that is I was online today, and I read some stat, I thought it was awful low, but it was between 2 and 3% in a gun battle, a cop will only 2 or 3% of the time will that guy hit the target. So my point is, envision this situation out in Illinois. You've got a large group room, a large lecture room, a guy's on the stage shooting up into the audience, and I've got a 21-year-old student who I have no idea what his experience is, maybe running out of there. You'd like to think he's going to run for a little bit of cover, or duck down for cover, and he's going to try to take it out, and he's going to be better than 7%?
Let me give you a different example.
That's crazy.
When Mayor Caligiuri was here, okay, in the city of Pittsburgh, there was a man went over to a school bus stop to pick up his kid, okay, and this is a self-defense shooting, okay. 2 kids pull up in a Jeep Cherokee. They had a shotgun and they had a semi-automatic rifle, and they started banging away. This man pulled his semi-automatic handgun, fired 1 shot, frightened these guys. They jumped back in the van. Now, keep in mind, he was...
We should get him... He should be a cop then.
Okay, but you know what? But Tom, you've avoided answering a couple of things that I want to bring up.
Oh, please.
We're going to follow up in just a couple of minutes here. And also, take some more of your calls. If you've got a question or comment, please get it in here. 412-333-PCNC. We'll be right back. All right, thanks for joining us tonight on Night Talk. Our telephone number 412-333-PCNC. And Tom, I gotta pick on you here. First of all, you know, one of the big elephant in the room here is, once again, Kim, go back to what you said. 1966 to 1996, there were a handful of incidents like this in schools. 1996, a law is passed that all schools in this country are to be gun-free zones. Suddenly, we have this explosion, pardon the word, of these shootings. How do you account for that?
I can't account for that, but I don't have an answer for that, and I genuinely don't. But I will say, listen, if someone wants to get a handgun, you know, how many criminals out there have handguns, and 15,000 murders a year?
But those are people who will...
They won't obey the law anyway.
They already don't obey the law.
So wait, so you're telling me that if there's 10 students in a large group room that are packing guns, that a shooter is now, you're under the assumption that guy is going to be of the mindset, well, I'm not going to pick that room because there may be 10 people in there. He's not going to care.
See, that's against everything that's come across when we've introduced these concealed carry laws. This is the 20th anniversary of the enactment of the concealed carry law in Pennsylvania. And every concealed carry law that's been introduced in this country has shown a dramatic decrease in crime. And yet, how do you account for that? Because criminals know they're going to choose a target of least resistance, and if the potential victim is armed, they will avoid that, and that's going to happen.
And I agree with that, but I've got a real difficult problem. If you're admitting the numbers is 7%, that our paid professional law enforcement are missing their, or only 7% are hitting their target. Well, I can imagine what a 21-year-old is going to do when the adrenaline's pumping, the hands are shaking. I'm afraid he's going to take out more students.
Okay, Kim, answer this. You know, go back to the caller though. The caller made actually a good point.
He did.
These people are crazy, and it's not they're not necessarily worried about whether somebody's going to shoot them. Well, is that a legitimate argument against?
No, because what we're saying here is the average citizen needs to be able to make a choice. And how much worse could it be if you had 3 21-year-olds in that audience in Illinois banging away at the bad guy up on the stage with a gun?
And let me ask, okay, let's use that scenario.
Okay.
You got 3 people in a large group room of 150 students. You got 3 banging away. Out of the 150 students that were in that room, do those students have any clue that those 3 people behind them are not active shooters as well? I'll take it one step further. A cop gets in that room. Those 3 kids are dead if there's a policeman in that room.
If a policeman's in that room, he should have stopped the shooting.
Well, no, let's say
well, that's what you're saying. Oh, well, if he gets there minutes later,
he's shooting those 3 kids.
But see, that's not the issue here. The issue here is...
Well, I think it is.
Well, the issue here is, can those kids actually respond and stop the incident? I guarantee you, with that shooter on the stage, they start firing a couple shots at him, that guy's going to drop the gun.
But you're assuming those young men and women who may carry a gun have that mental capacity to draw a weapon and square up on somebody and shoot.
They may be a veteran.
That's crazy.
I have a question for you. What if that the end result of this is if a criminal knows, or it's generally known, that they could walk into any classroom and potentially face other armed students? The uncertainty of that might actually prompt them to think twice about what they're going to do, and maybe not do it.
I think it's a valid point, but as we've seen from Virginia Tech and from Illinois, both of these guys are mentally unstable. So I think that I think that they're going to, I don't think it matters to them.
They were mentally unstable, but they plotted and picked their way. They avoided the police. They avoided the security because they didn't want to get shot.
They could go into a church and do the same amount of damage.
Well, and there was a case like that in Colorado, if I recall.
Yes.
But the guy, what he didn't realize was that they had a security guard.
No, she wasn't a security guard. She was a law-abiding citizen and was a member of the parishioner of the church.
Right.
And she's a former officer.
She's a former police officer.
Yes.
But she happened to be carrying her gun.
Correct.
Yes.
And
correct.
so, and she prevented further bloodshed there.
I think,
And that's exactly what would happen on campuses now.
Guys, I gotta stop you there. I want to thank you both for a very great discussion on this whole issue. And we didn't settle it tonight, but made you think, I think. Kim Stauffer and Thomas Kane. And my name is Mike Pintek, and I thank you for watching tonight on Night Talk. Have a great evening. Take care. Bye-bye.